All right, welcome to Wednesday. Let's see here. What are we gonna work on today? Bring the app to life. Well, I think I did that. So I put out this YouTube short yesterday. And part of it was because I was submitting myself to possibly present at a game conference, like a tiny little regional one, in the next month. And they needed like a demo video as part of it. So I put out this YouTube short. So the app now does it quite a bit more. And in preparation for putting that out, I actually did a bunch of work in the last 2 days. So we bring back the day-night cycle. That's done. I actually did have... Oh, yeah, I did put the code here. I ended up going back into the old PR and pulling back what I had. I'll review these notes, see if there's any of this that needs to get pulled out into a new ticket, because I had some more advanced ideas there. But that's done. I think I'm going to probably merge it as is. There are some bugs with it. So where is that? Yeah, I don't need that anymore. Here we go. Bring back Sky. Yeah. Yeah, I was bringing back some things. Okay. I'll quickly peruse through this, and the performance isn't terrible either. Originally, I removed the Sky logic because it was tanking performance so badly that the book was becoming unreadable. So the game engine was sort of like blurring the text. I wonder actually if there's a way where you can choose what your priorities are, because I would very much like it to... I would be nice if Godot had a way where you could say that the book, right, like the book takes top priority, and that should get all the rendering resources beyond everything else. In any case, I was able to cut down a lot of the more fancier features of the skybox and the terrain for the plugin that I was using in order to get the performance functional, right? So it actually is readable text on the page. The video maybe not showing it as well. So that's good. So that means that this can be merged. There's probably more performance I can sneak out of it, but it's probably good enough. Yeah. So that's probably a good place to be in. Let's see here. Let me think. What do I want to do today? So I'm going to probably add some comments to this PR. Maybe add a new task to the task board to address any lingering cruft from this PR. So I think really what we're saying is, let me drag this down. Let's drag that up. Okay. So we got, like, we'll merge the sky ground PR. Streaming lines and words to the page. We accomplished that in the last stream. Bring back day-night cycle. Yeah, so that is the thing I did off stream. That's the main thing I did. And what else? So this is done. That'll be over with. This is a small thing. It's only gonna take a moment. I probably should take a moment here and see if I can get Godot 4.5 working. And then, you know, I've got this sentiment analysis video that I'm slowly going to start piecing together. I don't really even know if we're going to do... I guess it might be the future vision, and these two might be the same. I might end up merging these two. So the next video I put out might be a bigger one, in that I may talk about the grand vision that I have for this app, and then show either this video or a teaser, a new teaser video with some improvements to it. And put that video out. Ooh, that's actually a good point. So if I do end up talking at that conference, maybe I put out that video a few days before, something like that. Okay. Yeah, deadlines always help. Deadlines force you to have discipline and to accomplish things. Okay, so then I think I'm going to try a Godot 4.5 upgrade this morning. I need to do that. And that's probably all I'll get done today. So, Godot version bump. That's really today's goal. That's weird. There we go. Throw that over. Do I have any local code? No, just some DLLs. DLLs that I want to ignore. Yeah. I could add those to the git ignore because they do pop up from time to time. I don't know why. And then they auto delete themselves, so I previously had them in the codebase. Whatever, doesn't matter. Yeah, so let me reset that back there. Yeah, so that also the advantage of having this video now is if somebody hops in the stream and asks me what I'm working on, I can easily bring that over. In fact, what I'll probably do then is let me bring this over. Cool. So I can then talk about this and talk about this together, these two things together, when I get those kinds of questions on stream. And it's a bit of eye candy if I'm doing boring work here, like code reviewing. Gives somebody something to look at. Composition layers is something I tried and failed to do previously. Don't use label 3D. Apparently performance in VR is terrible. 3D text. Oh, that's for, yeah. I also tried, wait, did I try composition layers? Some viewport. Oh, that's different. Different but similar, I think. Composition layer for HUD, I think is really what this is. All right. Not that I need to do too much cleaning up our browser tabs right now. Okay. Wow, this is it literally composition layers again? Is it literally the same thing? What is this? Yeah. Latest tutorial, right? I mean, it's different URL, stable versus latest, but yeah, it's the same thing. Okay. Oh, more on composition layers. I wonder if this is more of that. No, this is hand tracking. It's going to be different. What is this? Hand tracking. Here is the old VR tutorial. Ooh, this is old. Okay, this is so old that it's probably bad for me to even look at it, because the advice in it is probably so dated. Sorry to Bastian for all of his hard work. More hand tracking. Okay, so I got a bunch of hand tracking things here. I need to decide if there's any of this that I need to care about. Yeah, okay, so I got a bunch of hand tracking stuff there. I do think there is something I want to do with hand tracking, but I'm going to not worry about that for the moment. So again, the goal being, let's start by getting the PR merged for this. Okay, yeah, let me get this merged. So I'm just going to quickly skim this code review it, get it merged, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So I did pull in some vanilla assets for things. 2.1 dev, okay, fine. Most of this add-on stuff I shouldn't pay too close attention to. Yeah, let me ignore those. HUD scene. I set it visible false by default. That might be fine. And then I added a spotlight. Oh. Right, so where's the HUD? Yeah, so this directional light is no longer needed. It's the spotlight. Yeah, the spotlight is the thing that is useful, because the spotlight I can determine the distance, which was the thing that the directional light couldn't do. So the directional light would light up the whole scene as if like you had turned on the sun. So even though it was nighttime, everything would get lit up, at least anything that was in front of you, since this is anchored to the viewer. But this spotlight, I can set a wide angle at 65 degrees and then give it a range of 0.75 meters. So it only lights up the book and the things that are right in front of you. So those things at nighttime, they would get dark and disappear. Okay, so this is why we code review. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, environment change. We've got ground visible false. I turned off fog for two reasons. One, ground fog was, well, it was probably a performance hit, I assume. And the other thing was it would show up even when we were in AR mode. So just as when I have like the switch to AR here, the switch to AR logic and the switch to VR logic, just as I had like, it was weird, like the ground would be there when we were in AR mode. So you'd be seeing the room, but then you'd see the peaks and valleys of the ground. So it's kind of cool, but I don't want that, so turn that off. I would turn it off by default, but then in the editor, if I turn it off by default, let me confirm this. So if I say hidden, yeah, now it disappears. Maybe I want that, but I think in the editor, I probably want to be able to see the scene. So I think I need to default that to being shown. So when we switch to AR, which we do initially on startup, we set it false. I think I did add a... Yeah, I committed a little bit of a sin here. This helps with not being ugly. We kept jumping back and forth between AR and VR. Oh, here it is, yeah. So on ready, we immediately effectively do the switch to AR stuff. I wonder if I could just call this function. Oh, I gotta sneeze. I don't love that I put this here in ready. It doesn't really belong there. I suppose it doesn't hurt to call switch to AR. Let me try that. So in main, well, I guess we oh, interesting. Well, I guess we could do... Well, I guess we probably have to set the display, set viewport, transparent background true, starting in AR mode. See, I might not even need this either. And then set that. Okay, so maybe in theory, I wonder how this will work. We do switch to AR. Otherwise, switch to VR. And then we probably don't need ground visible. Do I use this... Yeah. Transparent BG, true, false. Okay, so I can get rid of that too. And then use XR is probably not. I wonder, I may want that in here. Let's try that. So in theory, we would do this. We do false here. I wonder if that works well or not. I'll have to test that. Also, XR interface. If not XR interface only gets, well, I guess we no, this could be false here. So VR might not, I might not want that. What I probably want is if this and this, otherwise allow VR to be true. So two questions would be, what happens if I run this outside of VR? Does this work? And so if we run it outside of the headset, this ready condition won't be true. In theory, this would then call this. And then all these things should work. All right, well, I can test that real quick this way. Yeah, that works fine. 3D, take control of the camera. Some fun little clipping there, but otherwise, yeah, that works just fine. Good. And then I'll check the headset in a bit. I do want to check the func process. Where are we at on that? Func process. Let's do an else here. I may disable this just because this is like a little bit funky. It's like if you... Right now, I mean, I'm going to refactor this anyway. After I upgrade Godot, this might be the next thing I refactor. Right now, I do this like... check your hands to see where your hands are. And if your hands are facing up, then that means mostly facing up, more than 50%. Then that means you're holding a book in your hands. And if you're holding a book in your hands, then we should try to detect that book using OpenCV. And if we do, then we try to OCR it. Otherwise, if not, we actually hide the book, turn the HUD on, and then switch to augmented reality. And that basically means if you're holding the book in your hands, the bug that annoyed me, and it's a bug that happened when I was recording this video, is if you look up while you're holding the book, and you look away from the book and you look away from your hands, then we kick you out of the immersive experience, which I don't want to do. So I gotta find a smarter way to do this, which is probably like get rid of this whole hand checking thing. Lord Crazy of Life, how you doing? Ah, I see you're on YouTube as well. Both Twitch and YouTube. Sorry, I often get lost in the code and don't notice when people dip in. Okay, so I'm gonna press a button to lock it. Why don't I have it so you can press a button to lock it so you're not kicked out of the experience? I'm trying to make it organic. Like my ideal hope for this, as much as possible, is avoid giving the user buttons and a user interface and settings that they have to manage, and instead make it the kind of thing where, look, if you're holding a book and you're in the experience, then you're in the experience. But you do make it a good point. You do make a good point of, if I think about this for a second, if somebody closes the book and just wants to sit there in the environment. So let's say they're reading a story, and again, it's moody, it's nighttime, it's raining, and they're really enjoying the story, but they just want to, instead of moving on to the next page or the next chapter, maybe they just want to like close the book for a moment and be there with their thoughts in that scene of the story. And right now, yeah, the app would kick you out in that moment. So yeah, maybe I do have to make it a more, like a hand gesture or something to that the user decides when they leave. Like the user can toggle. Yeah, should the user be able to toggle it themselves? I guess my original thought was, hey, if the book's open, they're reading. If they close the book, then that means they're done reading. Kick them out of the experience. Doesn't have to be a toggle as such. Yeah. I'll have to think about it. I want to be as organic with it as possible, is my hope. Yeah, I'll let that play while I continue to code review. In any case, for now, I think I temporarily disabled this. So by basically I've been doing else if false here, it just guarantees like this condition will never be true. It just can't be true because it'll always be false. So I may leave that in for the moment until I can figure out a better solution. Although it is kind of annoying being trapped in the VR experience. Alright, main scene. I added a bunch of sky stuff, shader stuff. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. Okay, ignore that file. This. Okay, that's a line that should get deleted. It can be automatic like it is, but you can press B, for example, to override it. So the way this app is supposed to work, the way I've been trying to get it working, is... Here, let me delete this line. No controllers. So you're not using the VR controllers, because obviously then you'd be holding a book and trying to hold the controllers, which it actually did operate that way at one point, and it was very cumbersome for me to test the thing. So this would be, for this to work properly, it would be hand gestures only. Now the Quest 3 does support that. So you can do things like pinch your thumb to your, like face your palm up and then pinch your pointer finger and your thumb together, and that'll open up like Meta's menu to launch things. So they do have a bunch of hand gestures supported, which actually maybe even gets into some of this stuff. I was going to close these tabs because I was looking at some of the hand stuff that they let you do. And now that you're bringing up this question, it's making me think about it. So whatever I do, it probably needs to be a hand gesture or like a pinching of a finger or a closing of a fist or something like that. The issue is that it could be accidentally activated with hand gesture. True. Yeah, I mean, that's where you'd want it to be something that it's hard for them to do by accident. Most of the meta hand gestures are hard to do by accident, like the opening the menu. you kind of have to have your hand open and like intentionally click it. If anything, it's too hard to trigger in my mind. Like, I don't think I've ever accidentally opened the menu on the VR headset. In fact, sometimes I feel like I'm like staring at my hand and having to like intentionally smash my fingers together in order to get it to open. So I wonder if there's sensitivity settings on that too. That'd be interesting. Okay, so I cleared up that line of code. This is fine for now. It's just like prototype day-night cycle detection. I'll probably turn this into a database or something at some point. This is all fine. This all looks right. Only do it on page flip, sure. Made things go a little faster. All right. And then all the terrain stuff I'm gonna skip, and that's it. That's the whole pull request. All right, so with that, I think I will do a quick test on the VR headset to make sure I didn't break anything, and then just merge this. So let's do a live demo. Plug that in, and then let's see here. Send it to the Quest. I'll bring up Quest links so I can do a cast so you can see as well what it looks like when I deploy it to the headset. But I can't cast right away because the one thing I need to do, assuming I want debug logs to show up in the Godot editor, is I have to do the permissions before. Otherwise, it'll ask me for permissions in the headset, and then it'll, for whatever reason, it'll fail to do the pass-through camera until you close the app and relaunch it. But if you do that, then I don't have the debug logs in the editor. A little bit annoying. And the first time this runs every day, it always takes an extra minute to deploy. But okay, so there's that, and then let me stick with The Hobbit for the moment, for the book. Okay, come on, let's go. Yeah, that's all fine. All right, permissions, and then we'll cast. Pull that over here. All right. I don't have good lighting in this room right now, so it might not like that, but page not flat. Seriously? I think it does this when there's not good lighting sometimes. I do need to improve this message to be more specific. There we go, now it's processing. Yeah, when the lighting's not good, it demands a little bit more before it'll actually start processing. All right, something failed. The screen went black. That means that there's an error somewhere. Did I not get an error in the editor? We got the logs. 5 frames per second. Yeah, something went a little fishy there. Yeah, and the sky and ground stuff isn't as performant as I'd like. I did boost the performance of it quite a bit, but there's definitely more to do there. That's largely the skybox and everything. Just because I went with like a slightly fancier option because it looks better, but I may have to do something smart there. Huh, why did it go black? So it did all the OCRing, right? No viewport was marked with use XR. There is no rendered output. 123. Oosh. Okay, so it doesn't like that. Hold on. Okay, so I think here, I'll just kill it that way. And where's the cast? I'll kill the cast as well. Sorry, I want to be in main here. Okay. Have you got a Discord? I'm on Discord. I don't have a Discord like channel or anything for this app or anything like that. Okay, so I think this use XR, that needs to go back to ready probably here. Where did I have that before? I'll define that. And then use XR false. Yeah, I think it defaults to false, but I don't think that's something we want to change ever. Okay. Let's see here. Git diff. All right, change some settings. No, the spot. Oh, well, the spotlight moved positions. That's why. All right, so this was here before. Let me just move it back to where it was. Was that was after the display server setting? Yep, so this is why we test, because things will be broke. All right, let's try that again. So what are you saying? Let's see here. You should. It might make it easier for people to communicate with you. This could mean you help them and people could help you. Yeah, I agree. I probably should. I've finally now started getting more people hopping up in chat or sending me messages or commenting on my videos. So I think I might have, like, if I created one earlier, it would have been a ghost town. Now I think there could be a couple people hanging out in there if I did. So you're right. It might be time for me to do that. There's a lot of things I need to do for this app. Yeah, I finally just got just yesterday, tech demo video finally put up, as well as screenshots that I've captured because I needed those as well. So there's a laundry list of things I need to do. But yeah, Discord's probably should be one of them. Discord server, rather. Okay, yeah, camera permissions, and then let's cast again. Okay. And now let's see how this does. Is it not coming up? Sometimes it does this. Okay, there it is. All right, let's see how this likes things. See, it says book too far away, but I know that's not true. So I think sometimes it gives me the wrong message when it just fails to identify something properly. Why is it not triggering? All right, fine. I'll do it the annoying way. All right. Now it should work. Better lighting. What's going on? Why is this not behaving itself? Well, see, I guess it got close a couple times. Oh, and now it says it's processing. It's probably processing the logs. That'll be fun. No, it actually processed page 2 of the book. Okay, so we are back to things working. Yeah, I can tell when the frame rate drops because the readability gets worse. It did detect that it's nighttime because the word tonight appears in that one paragraph. Okay. Alright, so things are back to work. Yeah, see, I looked off screen, lost sight of the book, so it kicked me out of VR. Alright, that's good enough. I'm going to merge that as is, and then I'll deal with fixing bugs along the way. Thank you for the offer to set up a Discord for me. I think I'll take care of that myself. But thank you for offering. Is this going to be an Oculus APK or desktop app? This is going to be Meta Quest 3 3S only for the moment. It uses the new Passthrough camera API that they opened up a few months ago to developers. So prior to a few months ago, you couldn't, you could do Passthrough, but you couldn't have access to the camera data to do things like OCR on text, which is what I'm doing, right? I'm taking still images from the video feed, and then running doing some OpenCV pre-processing, and then running Tesseract OCR on them. I don't know what other headsets, VR headsets, offer an API like that. I'm also building this in Godot, and so I am somewhat limited to what Godot supports. So at the moment, I think my only options are the Meta Quest 3 and 3S. I don't think they've opened it up for the Quest 2, but even if they did, I think the Quest 2 cameras are significantly worse. And then there's a sort of a garbage in, garbage out problem where if the images aren't good, then you can't OCR anything. Okay, let me get the headset out of here. All right, so logs. Do we see anything weird in the logs? Let's see here. Texture create. Interesting. I think that is coming from server render. I think this is coming from one of the plugins I just added. Integer division. Where am I doing integer division? OCR Manager 56. Oh, I know about that one. That's fine. It's not really... Because I want it to be... I do want it to be an integer. So I'm fine with that warning. Okay. Yeah, these are all fine then. And then, let's see here. Let's do one last git diff. So that's all fine. Removing this check here makes sense. Got rid of that by moving it up into the above function where we call switch to AR anyway. This makes sense. I think I'm going to add this back, the else if false for the moment. What is that? Main.gd line 100. Ish. Yeah, there we go. Elif false. There we go, false. And the main scene changed slightly. And then I cleaned up that. Okay, so then git status -s. Git commit -m final cleanup. Git push origin bring back sky and terrain. I meant, is it going to be a desktop VR app, or is it going to be installed onto the... Oh, sorry. Yes, it's going to be installed on the Quest 3. It's not going to use any network calls. So one of the common questions I get is like, oh, are you doing OCR using an LLM or something, like calling out to OpenAI to do the OCR? And technically you can do that. I think there are some OCR AI tools out there now. But no, everything's local on the headset. You could take it off the network and it'll work just fine. You don't need to be tethered to a computer. So yeah, I spent a good amount of time trying to optimize the performance of OpenCV and Tesseract OCR to get it down to reasonable. Now it's like in the ballpark of reasonable times for how long it takes to do everything. Yeah, I get what you were saying now. Yeah, no, it's not desktop. I'm trying to make this as portable and lightweight as possible. Try to make this magical utility that runs on the Quest. I have a funny idea. Get it working on the Apple Vision, as ironically that would be what that would be used for. Yeah, I don't really have an interest in buying one of those headsets right now, especially given the price. And I don't think they've opened up an API yet. Last I checked, for their cameras, but I'm sure they will, and I'm sure the price will come down. So, I've also thought about the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. Meta did just announce that they are opening up a dev API, so they didn't have one before, so you couldn't currently. I think there was like the hacky way to do it was you could. Meta had for the Ray-Ban glasses, they had WhatsApp available. And so people created like WhatsApp automations whereby, you could use something on the camera to trigger something in WhatsApp, which would then trigger an action done. So people had hacky ways around it. But Meta did just announce that they're opening up an API specifically for the glasses. So my one thought is, if you take this app and you strip away the visual stuff, it could still do auditory. So one of the inspirations for this app was, I don't know about you, but for me, like I've tried reading books before and trying to get lost in the story. And sometimes you do things like put in earbuds with some nice classical music to read while you're reading to help you stay in the story. But the problem there is that the classical music or whatever it is you're playing, that's not going to match the mood and the vibe of what you're reading. Whereas this app will. So this app, I'm going to be doing sentiment analysis to know what is the content of what's happening on the page. Is it tense? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it nighttime? Is it raining? Like all these things. And then bringing in both visual and auditory diegetics to surround you. And so if you scrape away all the visual ones, you could use the Ray-Ban glasses and actually read a physical book and then just have the sound match. And so if you're reading a comedy or if you're reading a scary story, like the sound audio would match that. And if it starts to rain in the story, then you could hear that little pitter patter, or you hear birds tweeting. Have all those things. So yeah, I've thought about other platforms. Right now I'm just going to target the Quest 3, but once I get this out there and there's at least a version of it working, then I'll start thinking about where could I go with it from there. So, real quick, I think I need to leave one code comment on here. Title these add-ons. Come on, jump down there. Oops. Yeah, so there's the HUD. Okay, fine. HUD change. All this. Yeah, so I'm going to say disabling switching back to AR for the moment until we can solve the problem of staying in the environment even when you put the book down. Little comment for future self of me. And I think that's it. Let me not beat the dead horse on this one. And again, there's bugs and things I don't love, but got to move forward and positive. As long as it's positively impacted the app, let's go for it. I probably should do Where is it? Let's run the test harness. And I'll say works well, disabled a lot of the sky ground features that hurt performance. I will say though, performance isn't great. Performance isn't great though. Occasionally the book text switches to low res as a result. And then, so more improvements to be made there specifically. Test harness running for another second. Let's see. What are you saying? Tracking human and animal body poses or the trajectory of an object recognizing text in 18 different languages. Yeah. Multiple languages, definitely. Detecting faces and face landmarks, such as eyes, nose. To enable new device interactions, calculating aesthetic score. Determine how memorable a photo is. Ah, okay. Yeah, I mean, Apple's always a fan of doing things built in. I mean, I remember when the first iPhone even came out, people made a bunch of apps for it. And then one of the first things Apple did was they kind of took the most popular apps and then built them in. They built an internal version of the app for the iPhone and kneecapped that developer unapologetically. So, I mean, that's always one thing you got to worry about too is, you know, what happens if Big Apple decides to compete with you. All right, so how are my scores looking? 70, not like 78 basically, and same score. Slightly longer on the time, but that's, you know, my local GPU could be. It's within a margin of error, I'll say. So I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, good. So I always run this every time I make a code change because I found that if I don't, you know, sometimes I'll make a code change and not even realize that it's going to negatively impact the app in ways I didn't anticipate. So always run the test harness, even if we have already merged it. Cool. So that's done. Let's see. All right, so this is done. I am now going to then try to upgrade Godot. Is the next task I'll do for the next hour. Hopefully that'll be it. Let's see. Get status-s, get checkout main. Wait. Hold on. Let me close Godot. Every time I switch branches, Godot gets a little funky. Get status-s. Get checkout add-ons. Okay, get checkout main. Yes, it didn't even give me that warning. This probably happened because Godot was holding on to something. Get branch -d. And then let's pull down main. So now we're back up to date and we can start a new effort. It's crazy how most smartphones have OCR built in. Yeah, I have noticed that. Even on desktop, I think I was on a MacBook and I opened a picture and I went to highlight, like I clicked on the picture at a certain spot and it actually highlighted the text. Like it was aware that there was text in the image. I mean, OCR is getting easy and, you know, fast enough and cheap enough that, I mean, even classical methods of it. I know there's been some AI tools for OCR now, but even like classical approaches like Tesseract, which are open source, are getting good enough that, yeah, there's no reason why, like, why wouldn't you bake it into every device? It just makes sense. Also, because then you're doing things like, oh, if somebody takes a picture of their family, you might be able to auto tag that picture with any text that was shown in it. you might be able to figure out what the name of the photo should be based on something. So, yeah, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do that. And of course, they're always trying to one-up each other. This has happened in like a few years. It was the inspiration for the app I'm making. What app are you working on? We'd love to hear about it. Okay, let's see. Godot engine. Let's get the latest 4.5. All right. Where's downloads? Where do I have Godot anyway? Properties. Right, program files. Godot. I put everything in one spot there. Where's that? There we go. So let me just drag it here and then continue. This might be an issue. I think I can't unzip in a folder like this. Access denied. That's so annoying. Fine, I'll send it back. Whoa. Where did that go to? What the heck just happened? I gotta delete a bunch of this junk too. Great, so I lost it. I don't know what I just did. I'll figure that out later. Or maybe it went in here. Yeah, it did. Okay. That's why that got switched to today. Let's see here. Extract here. Cool. Now I can do those over to here and then say yep. And then this can get deleted. Yeah. Continue. Yeah. All right, so I would replace this one, but let's see about. So this is Godot 4.5 stable. Let's just launch it. It is an application that makes looking up tax easy for cars here in the UK. The application allows users to upload an image of the car to the app. We use OCR to read the number plate, yep, off the picture. Oh, so were you the one who commented on the video that I replied to? So reading the license plate. And then after this, it will show, I'm not sure what MOT is, M-O-T, and tax for the car. That's cool. So, yeah, so the comment I left back to you was, whatchamacallit, yeah, whether or not you were trying to do a mobile app or you trying to do a mobile first web app. Because technically, you know, especially if you're trying to build a prototype, mobile apps can sometimes be a pain. Failed to load script. Skydome.gd. So it doesn't like Skydome. But it loaded anyway. Error. Parse error. Class Skydome hides a global script class. And then GD script. Right, okay. So Sky 3D might not be compatible with the latest version of Godot. Good to know. I guess the only way to really know if this upgrade worked, which I suspect it didn't, is to build it for Android. Because the last time I did this, I had issues. Although I've heard they fixed a lot of the issues. So I'm going to get an error here probably. Yep. Please reinstall the Android build templates from Projects menu. Show in File Manager. I think I just need to delete this, right? If I do that, and then wait, what? There we go. Download and install. MOT is the yearly check that we have for cars to make sure they're safe. Okay. Yeah, it's meant to... It meant to mobile. Yeah. Yeah, we have something like that. I forget what it's called. I forget what the term is. But yeah, we have that too. We can see every MOT a car has had, so we can make an informed decision when buying a car. Oh, that's cool. I don't know if we have that in the US. Can you see those past inspections for a vehicle? Probably. Okay, that's cool. What have you built so far? Did you get... So you've gotten OCR working for license plates? Not yet. Yeah, one thing I was saying before was that I commented on the YouTube video and replied to you, was you might want to try prototyping it in Python. You can run that on any machine and just get a Python script with OpenCV working. If you're not confident with coding, AI, like the OpenCV can appear intimidating, but it's really not too bad. And the API for it is pretty straightforward. So AI tools can probably help you as well. And just use Tesseract, so that's Tesseract OCR, but it's the Python SDK for it, basically, the Python library for it. And then the same thing with OpenCV, you can use Python for that as well. And just prototype it in a Python script running on your local machine and get that working. I'm just not sure it works on mobile. Python, last I checked, particularly on Android. What's going on here? Export templates are installed and ready to use. Okay, close that, fine. Install. There we go. The last I checked on Android, it doesn't, but I believe I saw something about Google finally adding Python support to Android. But typically, I would say, if you're building a mobile app, for most apps, normally what you would do is you would have a backend server deployed somewhere. That could be Python, right? You could just have a Python server with an API on it. And then whether it's a web app or a mobile app, those would just be lightweight front-end clients that make calls to the backend server and handle it that way. So for me, if I was doing it, it would be Python, Django specifically with Django REST framework to handle the API. And then you could deploy it somewhere like Fly.io or Heroku to have that backend server up. And then just, I would probably start with a lightweight web app just so you don't have to deal with the mobile side of things. But then you could then go down the mobile route, do React and React Native. So React for web, React Native for mobile app when you do finally want it to be a mobile app. But then just having that backend server API by itself means you can validate that all the Python logic, all the OpenCV and OCR logic works by itself. You can hard code test that, hard, verify that's all really good. And then the front end development just is its own kind of thing. You focus on that then. Doing it the way I've done it with Godot, I think is the harder path. I had to create a whole GD extension. I prototyped a lot of things in Python, and then I used an AI to help me translate that to C++ and bake that into a GD extension. But then I had, since I'm on, this is a Windows machine, then I had to build both Windows libraries and Android libraries for the GD extension so that I could export from Godot to the VR headset. It's just a lot of extra steps, a lot of extra work. In hindsight, I also wonder for myself, like, should I even had bothered? Like, should I maybe have done the same thing I was just saying, which is just expose an API and build the way I've built before? That would have saved me a ton of time had I gone that way. I think I was just really trying to focus on this being a native running only on the headset and not dependent on me maintaining a server. Because the problem with a server is you got to pay for its upkeep forever. And I was trying to avoid that. So still getting these errors. I don't know if these... Wait. Editor export platform... Android build version mismatch. Template installed. Okay, this might be old. Cannot remove non-existent file or directory. Okay, well, this might be an old error. Let me clear that out and just run it, and let's see what happens. Let's see if this actually works now. I'm cautiously optimistic because I tried doing this upgrade like a month ago on one of the pre-release versions of 4.5 because enough things had been improved that I thought it was worth it, and it failed miserably. But I've heard that they fixed a bunch of stuff. There was a lot of bugs that got fixed right towards the end, so fingers crossed this is just going to magically work. Otherwise I'm going to be kind of annoyed. And then I'm going to have to go down that rabbit hole. Let's see here. It's thinking. Get the permissions set up, and I'll get casting ready. Most likely, well, the most likely outcome is it'll deploy just fine to the headset, but then the cameras won't work. That's what I'm most worried about. And then I'm gonna have to go worry about like the Android build template issues for getting the cameras to work. All right, so there is permissions, and hopefully I get, nah, I didn't get logs here, which is annoying. That makes it harder to see what's going on, but I can do these logs. It's just certain errors probably aren't going to show up. Here, let me relaunch that, and let's see what this does. Camera feed, yeah, with value of camera feed. Yeah, and it crashed. Okay, so I think that's the same problem I had before. Script error, invalid assignment of property or key camera feed with value of type camera feed on a base object of type node. GameState.gd. Let's see. Do we get more specifics with that error? GD script, initialize pass-through. Well, either way, it was camera feed. Okay, so the camera feed here is it's this camera feed. So it's initialized as null. Yeah, and then in main.gd, I think we call it, right? So this is saying 135. Yeah. Invalid assignment of property or key, camera feed, with value of type. A base object of type node. This is a different error than I got before. Interesting. So camera feed is camera feed extension. But the camera server provides feeds. But every feed is different. And they have different types. And before, like, this always felt hacky to me anyway. Because it's a camera feed, but it's a camera feed extension, which is a camera feed, but like it's only a certain type of one. So it's failing to get that feed. Let's see, what else do we have here? So loaded test data, did all those things, thread count, background process loop started. Permission utility failing, but invalid MetaQuest pass-through camera. Wait, no, initializing meta pass-through camera API. And then there's this warning. This isn't, that's not something I can control. Did I have any notes for myself on this? Okay, so this is done. I'm pulling this forward. No. Where did I see recently conversation of someone talking about, like, I think it was on the tools, right? Do I have an outdated version of project settings, plugins, XR tools? I might need a new version of that. Godot XR tools. Now, see, this is 440. I thought there was a 441. That's probably the other tools. So this is from February. So that's fine, I guess. Four or five. Oh, so they're releasing new versions, but... Oh, wait, hold on. What? 441, 4.5. Okay, so maybe they're about to release 4.5. So that's versions.md. Add UUIDs to all classes, improve material handling by avoiding force update and grab. Driver, don't trigger haptics. Fix create snap. Okay, it's a bunch of fixes. That's probably not what I need. Camera server, I should go look at. But I think I also have other add-ons in here, right? Godot, OpenXR vendors might be the one. Godot, OpenXR vendors. This might be the one that I need the latest of. July 24th. So this is 4.11 stable. I mean, I don't know which one I've got, but I'm pretty sure it's older than this. This release plugin is for 4.4 later. Okay, I might need this. This might be the one. Okay, and then Godot camera server extension. I've still wondered, like, do I even need the server extension? Two weeks ago. What did you say 2 weeks ago? Okay. What does this do? Expose camera feed transform on Android. Transform, rotate, this, set transform. This buffer, decode. Did you do anything else? Several things. So disable release daily check. That's funny. Avoid double signal. Okay. README change. Official Godot support. Okay, that's important. Separate and recognized Android implementation to enable camera usage in Godot editor for Android and Horizon OS. I remember this PR. But does that mean like this is where I've wondered, like, do I even need this thing anymore? Do I even need this plugin? June. The only issue is that the first time it runs, it'll ask for permission to access the camera. I think this is the exact issue I'm having still. The only issue is that the first time it runs, it'll ask for permission to access the camera, but it seems to do setup before I grant it, so it doesn't work until I start it again. Yeah, I've had this exact problem. Finds 3 feeds. Click, what is this? Fix the camera permission request. I might have to change this. Get excluded permissions. Now, that's going to be a whole separate thing. And that is, what is this? This is, oh. Back. Welcome back. Let me see here. Okay. So this is the blog post. Bunch of images. That's fine. What is this? Give developers access to the camera. The API access is described here. This uses the normal Android camera tune support. For that was added to Godot 4.5. The only thing we need to add for meta is the specific permission. So if you grab latest, so this is Godot OpenXR vendors, which is where I just was. I think this is the thing I was looking for. Yeah, Godot OpenXR vendors, latest. So if you grab Godot 4.5 and the latest 4.1.1 release of vendors extension, you should be able to use this now. Yes. And I know you. I've seen your name several times. I think I've actually I've seen somebody who's, now that I recognize his face, yeah, he's done a couple of videos on Godot stuff. Okay, so I need this. This is what I need. And then potentially, maybe, just maybe, I don't need... Wait, where am I? Sorry, here. I no longer need the camera feed extension. Maybe. So maybe I can do this refactor right now. I would love it to have one less external dependency. Work at your uncle's shop, and there was a guy that barely speaks English and was asking for a refund. I was struggling to understand what he was saying. I mean, you want to talk about cool, interesting tech. I mean, some of the live translation stuff is getting pretty close to Star Trek with like the live converse. I mean, it's still clearly very buggy and there's bit delays to it, but we are getting to a place where you can pop in some earbuds and go on vacation to a country that speaks, you know, theoretically, I'm sure eventually any language, and you could do live translation in your ear, which would be pretty awesome. Okay, so how do I upgrade this thing? Building the assets, expanding the build, using the assets, installing Android build templates, the use of a Godot Gradle build option. But this doesn't really tell me. Godot 4 wrapper for OpenXR vendors, loaders, and extensions. Manual pages. Here we go. Installation, there we go. Use a Godot Android plugin. Using a Godot Android plugin requires the use of Gradle build. Install build templates. Fine, sure. When downloading this asset from Godot's asset library, if you've downloaded the zip from the releases page, copy the files to assets add-on manually to add-ons in your project. You may need to create the add-ons folder if you have built the assets from source, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this should now then be available. So this is the Godot OpenXR vendors, right? Godot OpenXR vendors, right? So I should be able to delete this, remove it, because the folder or file is open by another program. Okay, fine. Yes, I get it. You couldn't do it. Let me do it, please. Folder. Okay. Cancel. Here. Let me close Godot. Maybe Godot is getting in its own way. I don't think anything else should be touching it. Delete. There we go. Nope. No, 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 no. Not that version of Godot. This is... Close that. 4.5 stable is what we want. Okay, cool. So that's fine. And then project settings, plug. Oh no, actually I should be able to do asset XR. Here we go. XR vendors 4. I love how there's so many versions of this. What is this? This is the version 2.0. This is for Godot 4.2 only. This is for Godot 4.3 and up, but it's a different version. Godot. So there's Godot XR tools. This is 4.4.0. Oh, but that's XR tools. This is XR vendors. 4.1.1. That is the version, right, that I'm looking for. .4.1.1. Yeah. OpenXR vendors. OpenXR vendors, yeah. Let's do that. No conflicts, install. Okay, and then project settings. So it doesn't show up here as a plugin. Maybe that's fine. So now I wonder, like, it's still probably not going to be happy. Let me clear that out and let's restart Godot just to be safe. Again, I got to run it from here since it's a new version. Install. Okay, that uninstalled. Let's try. Okay, so the Skydome, it still complains about something. I'm sure they'll fix that in the next month. I can just version bump that later. That's fine. I don't want to fix it myself, but I probably could. I suspect I will get the same error. But I don't know, like, are there any docs for... So if you grab latest Godot 4.5 beta and the latest 4.1.1 release of the vendor's extension, you should be able to use this now. But where are the docs for, like, how do you do it? Alright, CU, what is this? For Godot 4.4 Plus plugin that extends the camera server extension class will be available to Godot once the plugin is loaded. He... Oh, that's probably this link that I was looking at. let's try it again. Permissions. Oh, you know what? Meta, you sometimes cause me problems. Let's see. No, didn't work. But I'll cast anyway, and then let me clear. Couldn't get the logs. Let's try this. Again, the app's probably crashing. That's probably why it's not launching, actually. Yeah, it's gonna have the same issue. And sure, I can, yeah, it crashed. So, I mean, having the editor call out the errors would be nicer if I can get that working again. But I already know what this error is, so. Invalid assignment of property or key camera feed with the value of type camera feed. So, I wonder, so camera feed. Can I do something like var feed equals camera feed? Sorry, not equals assignment. And then can I do feed dot set format feed dot is active? Feed is active. Okay. I mean, you know, maybe. At least I won't get errors. So if I do this, so that's just the one. And if I go to main, it's not there. OCR manager doesn't have it. Camera texture, get the feed ID. So, do I use that anywhere up here? Hold on, let's see. I mean, let's try that. Let's do it. Let's turn off the camera server extension. Because in theory, maybe they actually added support for it. If I just run this right now, maybe I would get an editor error. Actually, if I did this and I hit save, let me kill meta here because I think they cause problems. I really want to get editor logs if I can. So I'll unplug, plug in again. I'll actually even exit out, sacrifice a goat, launch it again, and maybe it'll actually work this time to get errors in the editor. Almost done coffee. Failed to load script, fine, that's okay. If I run this, hopefully I get an error. No error. I would have thought camera feed extension would have been something it would have complained about, but I guess not. All right, so let's run that. Let's try again. Shoot, I'll even do an uninstall. Take a quick peek at things. And let's hopefully this builds this time. Well, it'll build. Hopefully it actually runs on the headset this time. Let me get the permissions up. All right, permissions, launch that, and then let's see if we can get casting. There we go. See, I knew that was going to work. Just needed, it was the goat sacrifice that did it. Failed to end frame. So I get the feeling we don't actually have the camera. Yeah, see, something crashed. Debugging stopped. What happened? So failed to end frame. XR error, validation error. Let's clear this. And we don't have logs. Joy. Because I waited too long. Yeah, it's that there. Okay, so we step in here. I may have to bring back the debug HUD. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what the debug HUD's for, right? So, project settings, global. So we'll turn debugging back on so we can see the HUD. We have cameras. So we do have the feeds. Failed to end frame. I mean, all these things exist. So set format, feed is active, true. Initialize the debug panel if it's there. Okay, so that's what it is. me set the texture. All right, well. We'll kill that. I wonder if it is like Meta's thing that I have to keep killing. Is it the casting that causes the problem with the debugging? Well, in theory, we would have the HUD up now. So we're going to do permissions and then... Nope, we don't get the debug process. So annoying for that. We don't have the app launched, which is probably part of the reason why we're not getting the debugging. Let me grab logs. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of what I was expecting. We have the permissions. The camera feed's not there. Why isn't that's a fun little artifact over there. What is that artifact? I've never seen that before. Yeah, so the feed's not working. Why is that? Okay. Let us try project settings, plugins. Let's bring this back. Camera feed extension. I'll kill that, and then for the heck of it, I will uninstall the app. I'll make sure Meta's gone. Trying to slowly figure out how to like get debugging to consistently work every time. So trying that. I wonder if we'll get that same error back again. I may then need to retry adding all the Android stuff. Maybe I try that again. Because I don't know where the templates come from. Like, where does it download them from? I think it downloads them from Godot proper, so it's not part of the extension. It's not part of the add-on. So Godot XR Tools is not related to this stuff. That's not vendor-specific stuff. It's the vendor's plugin that I need. All right, let's try this now. Permissions. Nope, no camera, no dice. I'll cast anyway. Casting's not available. That's different. Let me just put on the headset though. Let me see what I say. And again, I will clear that and be ready for receiving logs. Yeah, same error. Invalid assignment of property, camera feed. That fun little artifact still there. Okay. I'm gonna keep you up for the moment. Well, I'll kill the tail of that. No, didn't want that. Go over here. Hang out there. So what do we know? We know it doesn't like this anymore. We know that it doesn't like the assignment to camera feed on this line. So it doesn't like... It doesn't like getting the feed and assigning that. It doesn't like getting a vanilla camera feed, it seems. Invalid assignment of property or key camera feed with value type camera feed. So this feed invalid assignment of property or key camera feed with value of type camera feed, because this feeds 0 is a camera feed and game state is expecting a camera feed extension. So it doesn't like that. In theory, that means per the docs, everything's supported, and therefore... So what is this? readme.md, official Godot support using NDK since 4.5. Okay, so that's this stuff, this platform support stuff. Since Godot 4... Hold on. Read RTFM, right? Camera server extension requires setting camera server monitor feeds to true before instantiation to provide custom feeds. Interesting. So it sounds like with 4.5, you still need this thing. Camera server extension. Equals true. Huh? What? See, I already had that. Because I was on 4.5, technically. I was just on an early dev release of 4.5. So actually, I'm already doing this. Camera server extension. Right, because there is no camera server. Yeah, it doesn't have a monitoring feeds. Okay, so I was already doing that. That has no bearing. Avoid upcasting to camera feed. Yeah, see, this is the same. Like, return feed will not work if it is camera feed extension. So the feed, it's saying the feed has to be a camera feed. Yeah, because this is saying its type, := is camera server. Feed. No, it'll be of type, whatever the type returned is. Feed, both feed and extension will work. I mean, on ready, I don't need to do what it's saying, because it's saying grant permissions. Did permissions change export? Back again? I'm just struggling here. Shouted at your boss. Well, that's never good. I don't know if I don't think I need to change SDK at all or anything like that. Meta plugin, OpenXR, right? Edge to edge. Come on, give me the pop-up. This makes the navigation and status bars translucent and allows the application content to extend edge to edge. Occluded by system elements by using okay. Generally think about quitting, but I need the money. Yeah. What is it? The 3 most addictive drugs in the world are cigarettes, alcohol, and a steady paycheck. So I'm requesting the headset camera permission here. I wonder if I don't need that custom permission anymore. So that's camera permission. I don't know if they do. Okay, hand tracking required. Hand tracking frequency high, sure. Pass-through required. Experimental features, boundary mode. And that's it. Yeah, so I don't think the new permission got added. I mean, I thought it did, come to think of it. Like, why wouldn't they have added it? Again, I thought Godot was baking in more direct support for this, but maybe the extension's still needed. Because what is this called again? It's a Horizon OS permission, headset camera. So that's not an Android camera. I mean, I don't know. So there's that. Caffeine's worse than all 3. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to get I'm trying to version bump Godot and running into issues with the camera server extension. So basically the camera stopped working, the camera API, which happened the last time I tried to do a version bump. So I got to figure out, like, this was the finicky part of getting all this stuff to work a few months ago when the camera API first came out. Let me switch to water here. So I got to figure out why the camera server stopped giving me the video feed, because without that, obviously, I can't grab images, and if I can't grab images, I cannot OCR. So let's see, any issues here? Wow, this is my old comment that he never closed. But we figured it out. And this is exactly what I'm getting right now. I'm getting this pink screen. Blah, blah, blah. I think because also the other thing I needed to do was disconnect the headset. Yeah, I shouldn't have to do that though. Disconnected the cable and ran the app. I got a live feed. Still needs to be installed for everything to work. Okay, so nothing new. He hasn't commented since then. And there's no new comments. What about closed? No. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't need this. Okay, so this was merged into Godot proper, but what did he change? This is why I'm still confused. Like, does this plugin even need to exist anymore? So we added Android support. Camera Android. Well, what is Godot? Godot Camera API. Well, there's my blog post. Godot docs. That's not right. Godot engine docs. All right, so here's the stable docs. Camera feed. Let's search up camera feed and camera server. It's possible, because I think this worked before, right? Camera feed, camera server, but it would work for like a webcam. So if you're trying to get a webcam in Godot, all this worked fine. So maybe I need to switch to the vanilla docs now. Maybe. To a single physical camera attached to your device. A camera feed gives you access to a single... Okay, so you're repeating what you said at the top here. When enabled, Godot will start capturing frames from the camera, which can then be used. See also camera server. Signals, camera feed added, camera feed removed, properties, property description, monitoring feeds. See, this is just setting monitoring feeds to true. Maybe I should do it that way. Maybe the set true no longer is valid. Camera server monitoring. Oh, interesting that set monitoring field. Set mon. So I'm not getting an error from the engine for this, but I wonder if that's no longer valid in 4.5. Cannot open file main GD. Really? You can't? Let's try reload it. Meta, you can go away because you're not working for me right now. Let's see if I get this error on load. Skydome, sure. Fine. So that error went away. That's fine. Let's clear this. Hold on. Render server. Physics interpolation is deprecated. Okay, whatever. So monitoring feeds that way. on-camera feeds updated. So it's saying I should do this. That I should connect it and set it true. And do that. So that we would connect this logger. Feeds connected. Wait. Feeds updated. Setting up the camera. Fine, whatever. Just needs to be a log statement for me to know that we actually got here. Oh, and then here's a bunch of comments. So, did anybody comment recently? June, hi, I can't make webcam work. Is the webcam recognized by other applications? I want to access live camera feed for a simple AR project. However, I can't get the stream. I'm a total beginner. I'm using 441. Set active, is active. Linux camera support got some fixes in 4.5 beta 1. And he never replied. Please, this is the tile map tutorial girl. Please make it work on Windows, please. Windows support was added here. Okay, so nothing new there. And then camera feed, which is what I should be going off of. This is not true. Wait, oh, sorry, Android. Yeah, Android support was added. Okay, signals, blah, blah, blah. So again, I think you know, when I first started using this plugin, I don't think you could do things like set format and like feed it. Like I don't think some of this I don't think worked. I think on an older version of Godot. So since I'm getting this error, I don't know. Let's try this again. And let's try turning it off again. And see, like, do we trigger this? Do we get the feeds? And then see if maybe somehow this works now. Project, reload current project. Gotta save again for some reason. Let me unplug the headset and plug it back in. And let's try it. We'll uninstall and get the permissions set up. So again, I'm gonna have to try both versions again here. So I will try the vanilla Godot version without the plugin. I would think that if the plugin was no longer needed, that he would have updated his, because he's clearly updating the repo. So I would have expected, if it wasn't needed anymore, he would have added something to the README saying that, hey, like, as of Godot 4.5, this is not needed anymore. One would think that he would do that. So right now I'm going to try it without it, just disabling the extension and see if I can get video feed on the HUD. And then I'll try it again with it turned on again. But I get the feeling it's not going to work. All right, so there's the permissions. Nope, didn't get debugging. Well, I'll launch the... if it'll let me. Oh, interesting. It says it's not connected. Well, I don't know. Let me see what I see. It's clear, and let's run that. Okay, well, everything's white, which is its own problem. And then if I launch it again, since I did the permissions, it shouldn't have been white. So the fact that it's white means that we have a blank feed then. Like, there is no feed. So what does that mean? Failed to retrieve non-existent singleton Godot camera server. Main GD8. Oh. See, I disabled it. So why did I not get an editor error? See, on permission result, initialize pass-through camera feed. Right, okay. So I knew there was another place that I was using this thing. So there's feed extension and server extension. So the error I'm getting is just, it can't find that. So it's going to fail hard there. It's not even going to initialize. We'll never call the initialization logic. So, I mean, the simple thing is I can keep this turned on for now. And run it again. And I don't know why I'm not getting debug logs inside Godot. It's making it much harder for me to see what these errors are. But I guess I'll live with it for now. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll have to go see, like, did somebody else put out a blog post or anything on how to do this with 4.5 proper, or am I trailblazing here once again? And I'm gonna have to be the one to put out a feed on a blog post or a video on, like, how do you do this. But I do have to stop soon. What time is it? Yeah, I do have to stop in the next, like, 15 minutes or so. So if this doesn't work, I'll probably fix it off camera. I mean, that's usually how it goes anyway. I will struggle on camera, partly because it's hard to focus when you're when eyes are on you, I guess. And then I'll end up figuring it out on my own later, hopefully. That's what I'm hoping for. Oh, hey, look! I think we actually got debug logs for once in here. What's the good word, Godot? And then, is meta, are you working? No, you're still not seeing the headset, so I can't cast and show visually what I'm seeing. There is that fun little artifact there. And there's nothing here. So Failed end frame. So initializing MetaQuest pass-through camera API. And then what is this saying? Well, so what at a minimum what that means is this did its job in that it does have permissions, therefore we call the signal. So if nothing else, well, it connected the signal, sorry. It connects the signal. Wait, have camera permissions. Okay. Sorry, what? Has permission. Right, so we're just checking the permissions. Yeah, we didn't request permissions because we have them already. So we immediately went to here where we called initialize. We connected this. We called monitoring feeds. Interesting. But we didn't go down to, we never got to here actually, come to think of it. Warning, the set input method is deprecated. That's fine. Failed end frame. Weird. That shouldn't... Again, what are these permissions again? I've gotten this stack trace before. I would have thought the latest Godot version would have fixed things like that. Although I do hear the latest patch fix does fix a lot of things, so I don't know. Maybe I should be waiting for 4.5.1 to fix things for me. Frustrating. I've come so far, I kind of want to finish, but part of me is now also thinking, I do know there is a bug fix patch, you know, so 4.5.1 is going to come out fairly soon because they just did the first version of 4.6 that has a bunch of fixes, and most of those fixes are coming back to 4.5. So I know there's that. I know there's an error with Sky 3D with Godot 4.5 that'll probably get fixed in the next month. So one argument could be made, do I just knuckle drag, like drag my feet and wait to see if anybody fixes things for me in the next month and not do this? Where is this? So this is an XR error. I think there's a newer version of Godot XR tools. And who knows, maybe that warning's fixed. This is in somewhere. Okay. Not really worried about any of that. Failed end frame. Let me run this again. As is. I'm not going to change this. Let me just run it one more time. Meta, you're not letting me cast right now, which is very annoying for anybody who's watching me. So I'll just kill you. You can die for the moment. Get the permissions lined up, and let's see what we end up with. Let's clear the logs. At least we can get some logs going, that's for sure. permissions, and no. No process running. And actually this time I will do the full logs. Because I want to see everything to see if maybe I see some more details about what's going on. No video feed. Let's quit that. So just a blank screen. And what does this tell me? Go all the way to the top. Unable to open data. Fine, that's fine, whatever. Yeah, this is getting disheartening. I'm gonna have to stop soon just because I'm tired of this. Let's see. So far, not a big deal. Nothing glaring. I do find this is one of those things that AI tools are good at, to like just dump the logs, and then oftentimes they can tell you if they see something weird. That's because sometimes you'll get errors or warnings that are not a big deal and that you should just ignore them. Other times you'll get a log or an error or a warning that actually like is like the whole reason nothing's working. Like this, permission denied. This might be a non-issue and I may not actually have to care about this. Or maybe it's critical, I don't know which. Device ID unknown. Lib device ID. Model extended. Yeah, again, this could be nothing or it could be everything. And then skipping these extensions. I think that's probably fine. Probably because I didn't ask for the permissions for them. That's probably what's happening there. Yeah, skipping these extensions because of things missing in the Android manifest. I should have sent this to file. This is what I've done before, is like redirect this to file and then tail the file. Because that'll then tell that then I can then search through, I can copy and paste it somewhere. Because I can't easily search this right now in the format that it's in. So, okay. I mean, I'm skimming these, but presumably these are all fine. So it still could be the Android templates. That's a possibility. Sure. Passthrough. Okay, fine. Let's get to the meat of the matter. I don't think I've seen this before. I could, obviously take logs from a successful run and somewhat diff them and see like what's in one that's missing from the other. Again, another task that an AI would be good at, because I could feed it 2 log files and tell it that like one is fine and runs successfully, the other one doesn't, and then it could say, okay, well, here are the warnings and errors that are in the new one that the old one doesn't have. And then could focus in on just those errors. Okay, well, I'll still soldier on for the moment. I'll just skim through all this. Right. So we actually do launch our app and run. Here's a bunch of my logs. These are logs I'm sending. In ready for OCR Hawker loading. Interesting that this gets called 4 times. Unable to identify permission. Org Kronos OpenXR permission OpenXR. Android blah 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 permission OpenXR. OpenXR system. OpenXR. Initializing pass-through camera. So I think this is the issue up here, by the way, but I still want to see a little bit more. Null pointer, controller tracker, okay. Hand tracking service, face eye tracking service. Hand tracking, blah, blah, blah. Hand tracking. Reading room is hands only. That is true. It is hands only. And then we kind of just client has lost focus. That's fun. Nothing. Oh, I have some errors here. Well, P tracker null. I think this happens when you take the headset off sometimes. Or when you kill the app. Force quitting Godot instance. Well, okay, so it crashed, actually, is what this is saying. Interesting. But the thing that really gives me interest is this stuff. Unable to identify permission. So if I look at not add-ons, not Godot. Oh, we'll stay in the same area though. If I go to so I wonder if I need to delete any of this. That folder's empty. Nope. So these plugins, this is stuff I want to hold on to and leave alone. I nuked the build directory. But it's possible it needs to get nuked again. I'm going to stop here But I'll try that. I'm going to try nuking the build directory and reinstalling the templates, and maybe that'll work. Like, restart Godot, do the install. It's possible that this is purely a... So it's like unable to identify permission. Doesn't know what that is. Yeah, it's like OpenXR system, OpenXR system. Okay, so tried like twice and failed. All right, anyway, feeling a little disheartened, but I gotta go eat lunch and then have work to do for the afternoon. So, it was fun hanging out. Lord Crazy, thank you for joining me. And I will probably stream on Monday. Otherwise, talk to you later.